From the Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for The Debate.
Good evening, you're watching Republic TV. It's 9 p.m. I'm Niranjan and I'm filling in for Arnab Goswami, who will be back on The Debate very, very soon. On a day when the government has assured that by December, between August and December, India will get an additional 2 billion doses of vaccine. On a day when the government has assured that 2 billion doses of vaccine will be available, we have a panel of experts who will take this forward on how soon we can ensure that all of India is vaccinated. That's our focus at 9 p.m. Our debate number one. $2 billion plus doses before December, and some are saying we need to fast track it further. And at 10 p.m. we continue with our dedicated broadcast from across India. Reports from the heart of India, from rural India, Republic Stay Strong India campaign. And we're getting you reports not just from 5 or 10 cities, but 700 plus districts. And here are the headlines this Thursday evening on The Debate. Government says India will have over 2 billion vaccine doses by the end of this year. Second batch of Sputnik vaccines will arrive on Friday. Rollout would start next week. Interval between 2 doses of Covishield now increased to at least 12 weeks. DCGI approves Covaxin trials for children between 2 to 18 years of age. Cases plateauing in at least 20 states and union territories, concern over high caseload in over 180 districts. The Prime Minister will meet district magistrates of 100 districts to review COVID situation. Well, as for the government of India, nearly 18 crore Indians have been vaccinated in the last 5 months. But is that enough? It's not. What more can we do to ramp up the vaccination and win the COVID battle? Top experts are speaking to Republic TV. Dr. Devi Shetty spoke to us this evening. Here's what the government's vaccination roadmap is, and then we debate.
India's vaccine drive may have hit a slight road bump, with several states alleging shortage of vaccines and even pausing the vaccine drive.
वैक्सीन की कमी तो पूरे देश में ही है और उसमें कहीं ना कहीं एक्सपोर्ट की हमारी जो गतिविधि रही, हमने एक्सपोर्ट की 6.5 करोड़ वैक्सीन, ये बिना देखे कि देश में ज़रूरत थी वैक्सीन की और देश के लोगों को वैक्सीन लगाई जाती क्राइसिस के उस समय पे हमने की, उसकी वजह से तंगी आई है.
Some states and even civic body corporations are floating global tenders to procure more vaccines.
महानगर पालिका हमारी पूरी दुनिया में, पूरा वर्ल्ड में फर्स्ट महानगर पालिका है जो वैक्सीनेशन के लिए परदेशी कंपनी को ग्लोबल टेंडर करके बुला रही है. ग्लोबल टेंडर हो रहा है, जिस 12 मई से 18 मई तक उनका submission date hai.
As both Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute of India have vowed to increase vaccine production in the coming months, the government is confident of over 2 billion vaccine dose production by the end of this year.
इसकी जो मात्रा है, वॉल्यूम है, वो बढ़ने चाहिए. कुछ सामने प्रस्तुत किया है जो दर्शाता है कि देश किस तरह पहुंचेगा. इस फेज में जो भी सप्लाई है, एक एक बूंद जो है, एक एक डोज है, उसको सबके पास पहुंचना चाहिए. पेशेंस के साथ उस सिस्टम को सशक्त करिए और जो गति बनी हुई है उसमें और तेज गति लाइए.
As India battles a deadly second wave, experts believe that only aggressive vaccination will help us tide through the crisis.
I strongly feel that we should vaccinate all the young parents, at least 300, 400 million of them, as soon as possible, because the experts, the epidemiologists believe that gradually the number of children who are suffering from COVID infection is increasing following the second wave.
With the DCGI approving co-vaccine trials for children, the possibility of children getting inoculated in the face of a possible third wave could become a reality. But the revised gap of at least 12 weeks between 2 doses of Covishield could pose a risk of further slowing down the vaccine drive.
The Central Health Ministry has accepted the suggestion given by the COVID Working Committee to increase the gap between 2 doses of Covishield vaccine. Now the gap has been increased to 12 to 16 months. Now this is the second time that the gap time between the 2 doses of Covishield vaccine has been increased in the past 3 months.
With another batch of Sputnik V arriving on Friday and a ramped-up vaccine production, can India truly fulfill the goal of vaccinating all by year-end? Let's debate.
And joining us on the debate this evening are Arvind Panagaria, who's Professor of Economics at the Columbia University and former Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog. He's joining us live from New York this evening. Good evening, Mr. Panagaria. Dr. Sunil Kumar, Director General for Health Services, Government of India, on the show this evening, live from Delhi. Good evening, Doctor. Dr. Shashank Joshi, member of the COVID Task Force in Maharashtra, live from Mumbai this evening. Good evening, Dr. Sunil Alag, Chairman, SK Advisors and Policy Expert, live from Mumbai. Sunil, hi. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Senior Pediatrician and Chairman at Nephron Clinic, live from Delhi. Dr. Arvind Rajvanshi, Executive Director, AIIMS Raebareli, live with us from Raebareli this evening. And Dr. Shumitra Rawat, Head of Surgical Gastroenterology and Liver Transplant at Sir Gangaram Hospital and member of the National COVID Task Force, is live with us from Delhi this evening. I'd like to start, however, with Arvind Panagaria. Mr. Panagaria, big dilemma here in India, and you know a little bit about how things work, and of course you have a view on this as well, on the vaccine dilemma that we face. Of course, projections of the government show that between August and December you will have access to 2 billion doses, 2.5 billion, roughly about 2.5 billion we will have by then, which should cover the entire population. But the dilemma is, how are you going to last till August and December, when most health experts and medical experts, we spoke to some of them today who say we can't wait any longer?
I think, Niranjan, the health system will have to be ramped up as we are currently doing. There is no escaping that. We are a country with an extremely large population, and vaccinating the entire population is a very serious challenge. So what we have to do is work on both fronts, ramp up our health facilities, health infrastructure, as we have been doing, but perhaps double down on that effort as well. We also need to, inform the people a lot more that they need to wear masks, they need to minimize the exposure outside. I think a lot of this wave, a big part of the reason this wave became so big is because people themselves also let the guard off. They let the guard down. Even now I see lots of pictures, people who are waiting for vaccines in a room. Not all of them have their masks on and all. So we have to work on all fronts till vaccination can be done. And vaccination will take time, nobody will be happier than me. I can tell you, if we can get 2 billion doses by the end of the year, but that looks to me a real challenge, actually.
Yeah. And what's also happening, in fact, as we were broadcasting this show, there was a little bit of a breaking news update that came in from the state of Maharashtra. What's also happening, Mr. Panagaria, is how now there is a lot of confusion, because initially states asked the center to give them the autonomy to approach global vendors to buy these vaccines. Now, we just got an update. As I was coming in, I saw an update of one state saying, hey, listen, I think the center should instead float this tender on behalf of all the states, so that there is, there is a sense of urgency and advance payments can be made, and this needs a centralized approach. Now, there is certainly confusion. And that is a debate that has been going on and on between the states and centre. But what's the way forward? You've been you're the former vice chairman at Niti Aayog. What would be an ideal situation, ideal scenario to deal with this particular situation that we find ourselves in?
I certainly think that certain bit of centralization is required. Whether or not you allow, BMC, for example, to go out and tender, that's a small matter. But for the large bulk of supplies, and this is, by the way, the model that the United States followed, and it seems to have worked reasonably fine. The federal government negotiated all the prices with the vaccine manufacturers. They had, of course, also invested quite heavily in de-risking the vaccine manufacturers starting from February 2020. And by March 2021, about in 13 months, they had invested something close to $21 billion. So they negotiated, then they allocated the vaccine supplies here to the various states. They even allocated it to some of the private providers like the Walgreens, where I got my vaccine shot here. And India, by the way, also was exactly following that model until suddenly there was so much attack on the government to decentralize. And so I think the government sort of went ahead and then decentralized it. But it seems to me that some coordination will be required, because also when surges happen, then that is where geographically surges are concentrated. Then those are the places where you would want to quickly kind of concentrate vaccination and try to sort of saturate that. So district one will need this kind of coordination. One needs necessarily this kind of coordination. Where there is no surge, perhaps one can wait. Once we have enough vaccines available and we can start getting, something close to 6-7 million vaccines a day, inoculations happening, then I think, this kind of privatization will become less important. But while vaccine supplies are short, privatization is required, and for that some central coordination is necessary.
Okay, one last question. Now, we need a long-term solution. Now, what are your learnings there? You're in New York. What are the learnings for a long-term solution to fight COVID-19?
Look, clearly the long-term solution is the vaccine. There is no, there can be no two opinions about that. And in fact, I go a step further, that one needs the vaccines not just in specific countries, one needs globally, because this is truly a global public challenge. And this is exemplified by the fact that even though the United States, United Kingdom, Israel have made considerable progress domestically in vaccination, and yet when the wave happened in India, they had to close their borders to flights from India. So as long, no country is safe until all the other countries are safe also. And that, of course, means vaccination, vaccination, and vaccination.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Panagaria, for speaking to Republic TV this evening and for joining us on this show. Let me go across now to Dr. Shashank Joshi, who's member of the COVID task force in Maharashtra. What's the thought process, Dr. Joshi, behind this global tender? Because we now believe that some states are of the view that you need to go back to the center, and the center must represent all of us as far as the global tendering process is concerned?
Niranjanji, two things are very clear. That if the central government negotiates on behalf of all the states, they will have a better bargaining power and they will be able to procure it in a more systematic way. So that is always desirable, rather than pitching one state against the other. Though they have given some degree of autonomy, in these matters it may be easier, particularly if it has to be imported. And even if it has to be bought from within, that would be there. But this is not my area of domain expertise. From a scientific perspective, I think we need to vaccinate, and it's very reassuring to know that we will have 1 billion people vaccinated by the end of December, and that is the key. I think we have to ensure that we are able to maximize our protection to the largest number of population, starting with the vulnerable population first, and then spreading it across to everybody. So I think that is our current target, and we have to do everything in that direction. So I think we welcome the steps taken today. For example, Covishield, the timing extended to 12 weeks. it will allow more people to get vaccinated and it will protect more people. Because as we again will have to remove restrictions as the test positivity rate will come below 5%, we need to saturate each of those hotspot geographies with vaccination. And if we have to do that appropriately and correctly, I think we need to have the supply part and the stakeholder part sorted out quick and fast.
Yeah, and we have those numbers up on our screen. So let me take that next question to Dr. Sunil Kumar, who's the Director General for Health Services. Now, is it a hiccup? Is it a hiccup in our vaccination drive, Mr. Dr. Sunil Kumar, or is it a crisis? Because you see, we did a little bit of maths here at Republic TV on how much of vaccines we can actually get access to by August, because both Covaxin and Covishield, put up some projections yesterday, and we found out that in a best case scenario, you will have roughly about 37 crore doses by August. And the government today held a news conference saying that between August and December, nearly 2 billion doses will be made available. So is it a crisis situation that you're facing in the government, or is it just a hiccup? Unable to get your audio there, Dr. Sunil Kumar. Yeah. Can you say something for your... Okay. Can you unmute? I think you've muted your audio. If you can unmute yourself, Dr. Kumar.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so Niranjanji, I would like to put it in a different manner, that it is a matter of concern and not a matter of... it is definitely not a matter of crisis. It is definitely a matter of concern that we have to find out the right methods of ensuring that everybody is safe. Now, the safety can be ensured not only by vaccination, but also by other steps, because vaccine is one of the key steps in prevention of the disease. But also, we must remember that the virus may mutate, and you never know, tomorrow there may be a different threat also. So what we need to do is long-term preventive measures in our behavior, which will be responsible for saving us, rather than providing the vaccine for every kind of threat that we get exposed to. So therefore, it is a matter of concern. Yes, we are lagging behind the way we should have. So far, we should have ensured whatever number we should have ensured the vaccination. So there is some lagging behind, there is some concern, but every effort is being made to ensure that these are propped up, the efforts are propped up to get more and more vaccine. The production is more, the wastage is minimized, and the rationality behind the doses is ensured so that more and more people are covered. And we are opening the vaccination to the right kind of people at the right time. So this is also an important strategy in conservation and right use of the vaccine, which will go a long way in ensuring that everyone is vaccinated in a time-bound manner, but in a systematic manner as they need it.
Now, Sunil Alag, there is a view that those with access to technology have a very unfair advantage on this entire vaccination process. And it is a fact, especially in cities. There is an unfair advantage, undue advantage that those of us with a laptop, with access to technology have vis-a-vis COVID, isn't it?
No, not really undue advantage.
My question was to Sunil Alag. Dr. Kumar, I'll come back to you. That was to Sunil Alag.
Thank you.
Look, all I'm saying is that, look, enough of saying now the Covishield can be had from 12 to 16 weeks. Nobody is going to believe it, because right now I have people abroad who said 12 weeks is the outside limit. The government, when they say 12 to 16 weeks without stating how they've got that information, it means they don't have the vaccine. People have to start the trust element today. It's not a question of going on only on the computer, because Bombay today, Mumbai, has already said you can have for 3 days, you can have a walk-in for the second dose. Forget about all this. They have understanding and they are reacting. can the Mumbai model be followed for the rest of India? Because here is the government which is responding very well. They brought the rates down. Enough of people saying, oh, we are going to do it by December. People are dying. They are not going to wait till December. And they want the vaccine between May and June. How much do we have? Where do we have it? Where are we going to get it from? So it's important that whatever we decide, whether the person in the center, whether it's Sunil Kumar or anybody, we have to start saying, and look, the government in Mumbai, and I'm not saying all of Maharashtra, but Mumbai, he's floated a tender right now, and he wants in 4 days there will be a reply, but he's only getting the amount that he needs for Mumbai, because that is the area which is having the maximum effect. And after that, whatever the center gives him, he will give for the rest of Maharashtra. You need a graded policy right now. Enough of saying by December we'll have enough. By December, how many people are going to die? Nobody wants to say that. Oh, we've extended from 12 weeks to 18 weeks now for Covishield. Nobody is going to believe it. There's a trust deficit right now. And therefore, if the government comes out very frankly and says, look, we are doing this in the center, we are allowing certain states whenever they have the money to go out and do it, I think it's a very good move, because we have to stop the blame game now. We cannot keep blaming the center for everything. There is a crisis. Right now, each state has to play its role, and therefore they are doing it. Look, I mean, there's no point in extending. Earlier, it was 4 to 6 weeks. That was extended from 6 to 12. Now from 12 to 16, 16 to 24. By the time we'll get all the vaccines. But nobody's saying how. How? Covishield, I've spoken to them. They said beyond 12 weeks, it's useless. Where is the information coming in right now? I don't know. And I'm educated. And I really don't know whether I can trust that statement. So ultimately, at the end of the day, a lot of people want to do it. Government of Mumbai is reacting very quickly. They've said there's going to be walk-in now. You don't have to rely on the computer. Even if the computer is not working, walk-in between Monday and Wednesday, starting the following week. When they are extending, see, you have to play the role now. Are you saying lockdown till December? No chance, because the economy is going to be at stake. The government of Maharashtra has said lockdown till 30th May. Nobody is complaining because they know that people are going to look after us. After that, what happens in June when you don't get a vaccine? Are you going to open up or not? Is the economy going to go down the drain or not? And that is the question that has to be answered right now. And the government is saying, look, don't blame the center alone. And we have to stop the blame game and allow each state to do its own job. The center is doing it. The states have to do it. The people have to do it. We have to get together and we have to move from, instead of blaming for the past, we have to move forward. There is a crisis right now, whether one admits it, whether one doesn't admit it, that's their problem. But to say by December you'll get it, maybe ant mein to sab theek ho jayenge, but how many people are going to die till December? Where are we going to have the vaccines? That's the question.
Yeah, I think Dr. Sunil Kumar wanted to respond to you on I think he was raising his hand when you spoke about the scientific reasoning behind the gap, 12 to 16 week gap. Okay, Dr. Kumar, you want to go? Yeah.
Well, I think it is not correct to say that it has been just at the whimsies and fancies of the government. This recommendation has been made. Let me tell you, all these decisions are taken after a lot of deliberation within the government. A lot of government infrastructure has been developed, and we have a systematic method of taking these decisions. Every decision is taken by a qualified group of experts who deliberate over the hours with the global best practices and the best available literature that is in front of us. And all these are literally debated for hours, and then only, and not only in one group, but also in many, sometimes 2 times, 3 times that are discussed. And then these decisions are taken, and they are not just taken at the whimsies and fancies of one person. So that's why I wanted to assure you that there should be no lack of trust, and that is why I raised my finger that this decision has been taken based on the best available evidence which has been generated, and everything has been looked into. Thank you.
Yeah, Sunil, before you come in,
if you want me to trust you, sir, if you want me to trust you, why didn't you say it right in the beginning when I took my first shot of Covishield? that you have till 16 weeks to take your second shot. Why are you
no.
giving it in doses? Why are you giving it in homeopathic doses? My nephew is in London. They have told him if you don't do it by 12 weeks, the first the dose is of no use. So unless you back it by saying I've got a few people in the government who said it, that's not going to work, sir. You have to work out a trust with the center and us now. And that is lacking, and you're not doing anything to help that by extending the period.
Okay.
Vaccine has been told by 4 to 6 weeks. If you don't take the second dose by 6 weeks, it's no point in taking the first dose. That's what I've heard. Maybe I'm wrong. You correct me then.
Okay, I have something. Okay, I have some. Okay,
in London, are they saying 12 to 16 weeks? In Lancet magazine, has it come out that it's up to 16 weeks?
Yeah, I was just about to come to that. I have some details of what the Lancet had published on this matter. The Lancet in February had found Covishield's efficacy is 55%. I'm repeating it. Covishield's efficacy 55% when its 2 doses were administered less than 6 weeks apart. 55% efficacy when 2 doses are administered less than 6 weeks apart, but 81% when administered 12 weeks apart. Now, India had this data. Dr. Sunil Kumar, now you're happy about it, you're nodding, but you had this data and you could have done something about it. You should have, in the beginning itself, maybe, I see Dr. Joshi is raising his hand. Dr. Joshi, you want to come in on that? I have some data with me from the Lancet on Covishield's efficacy.
So let us put up a couple of things in the scientific perspective.
Yeah.
The first thing is we are giving vaccines. These are all early generation vaccines. And Covishield has had the maximum confusion. Even if you give single Covishield, the same Lancet has published a paper with 1 dose, 76% efficacy, number 1. Number 2, low dose, high dose, 90%. The high dose, which is what the bridging trial in India and the Lancet published, probably, 1 month apart, 65%. You go up to 3 months, it goes up to 81%. So this vaccine has had some challenges in terms of its efficacy. But we are giving the vaccine to save lives, number 1. There it is, we are 100%. We are giving the vaccine to save severe disease. Unless and until there is an immune escape, this vaccine is going to be protective. But I am one thing very clear, that 12 weeks is sound and reasonable. The 16 week, I am at loss to know why that 16 weeks was there. Up to 12 weeks, I can fully understand that it can be extended. But beyond the 12 weeks, there is no data in public domain, at least in published literature, to defend the same.
Well,
correct.
Yeah. I'm happy you said that. Let me take that. I think there was Dr. Rajwanshi, Dr. Arvind Rajwanshi was raising his hand there. Okay, Dr. Bagai also is raising his hand. Okay, Dr. Bagai, you go first and I'll go across to Dr. Rajwanshi.
Thank you, Niranjan. Just a couple of points. First of all, I think the procurement of the vaccine must be and has to be centralized. I mean, to have different states working in different directions is going to be counterproductive. It may look fancy on paper right now that there are states who have the power and the capability to do it, but there are some states who will not be able to do it. You will get economy of scale, you will get a timeline delivery if the procurement is centralized. Point number 2, there should be no discrepancy on prices between the state and the center and between the government and the private. This vaccine is not being given to prevent an individual disease, it's been given to prevent a societal, a community safety angle. Point number 3, with regards the timing of this vaccine, especially the Serum Institute AstraZeneca, whether it be 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, I will not go into the percentages, I have that right in front of me, but there is enough data in public domain that the natural infection itself or a first shot of a vaccine gives you sustained immunity. Your antibodies of different types and your T cells of different types beyond 6 months and even possibly up to 8 to 10 months. There is enough publication and data on this. I will not go into the details of it, but there is data to back what I'm saying. There is sufficient protection even up to 6 months. There is also a very, very interesting meta-analysis, AI model data crunching, which has projected if you maximize your first shots now, that means if you free your arms and give more number of people the first shots now, you will save 27 to 46 lives per 1 lakh population per day. So there are different ways to look at it. At the present moment, there is a global shortage. We cannot run away from that fact. If the states are going to go individually, they're going to take many months to procure. And there will be some states who will be left behind. The states who are vaccinated will not be safe unless until all the other neighboring states are safe. Last and most importantly is Our next 6 months of India is going to decide our next 10 years.
Yeah.
Socially, economically, medically, and psychologically. We have to make this a national event to try to immunize each and every person. I have said this for a very long time that 2 platforms of vaccine for a country as wide as India is not going to suffice. We have J&J knocking on our doors, we have Pfizer knocking on our doors, Sputnik consignment is already here, Zydus Cadila is around the corner. We have to immunize any platform, as many number of people, including the pediatrics, as quickly as possible.
Dr. Bagai, the thing is, you know, like, I don't know how many issues are there. I don't know how many issues, come up that rarely affect every Indian, and this is one of them. There are not many issues that affect every single Indian, and vaccine is one of them. And trust me, everyone with whatever limited access that they have to technology, to the internet, are reading up, are reading up. They want to know what's going on. And let me tell you, this is data available. Dr. Rajwanshi, I'll come to you. You know, there was data available that showed that the analysis concluded, and the government knew about it, that increasing the interdose gap also increases the vaccine's immunogenicity. This is the Covishield vaccine, right? And then they decided, now there is one official who's quoted as saying that they decided on a 4-week gap between 2 doses after debating on similar studies done earlier. And let me tell you, in February itself, the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization had also met to review the WHO recommendation to extend the gap between 2 doses from 4 weeks to 8 to 12 weeks. So they met in February. I have details of that. They met in February. Now, the thing is, Sunil, what happens is, and I'll take this to Dr. Rajwanshi, and then I'll come back to you. Now, if you had this information at hand, and you knew there was a problem looming, why didn't you take a decision back then? Now that you're taking the decision, there is a trust deficit, like Sunil Alak said. The trust deficit is happening now because of a late decision. Right? Dr. Rajwanshi, tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what Sunil Alak, I think, tried to make his point some time back.
Yeah. Data is coming up and piling up. So, because initially we thought it will give you, as you yourself read from the Lancet, that first dose, the vaccination gives you 55% protection, and second dose gives you this much of protection. But if the gap is more, because the vaccination is a process where you have to sensitize the cells. B cells are first to be sensitized, followed by T cells. They develop the memory and protect the person from getting the disease again. So this gap between the 2 vaccines can be justified. There's nothing. But a lot of material is accumulating.
Okay. Dr. Rawat, you're part of the National COVID Task Force. Now, some medical experts who spoke to us, for example, Dr. Devi Shetty was on the channel this evening, and he had a very, very strong point to make on the need to vaccinate young parents. He said we need to vaccinate young parents because, a few months back he was on Republic. I'll tell you, in January, February, he was here on Republic, and he spoke about the need to vaccinate everybody, right? And back then, vaccination for all was a campaign that we ran, but eventually it took many months for it to become a reality. But medical experts had warned back then, and they're warning us now, ahead of a possible 3rd wave, that vaccinate young parents. Is there a need to change strategies for that? Is there a need to be flexible?
I think we are going to vaccinate anybody more than 18 years of age. That is what government has taken a decision. So obviously, the young parents are going to come into that particular age group. And the other thing is that, we had a meeting of the task force. Dr. Devi Shetty was there today in the afternoon. And also we talked about that the young doctors which are coming, who are a final year medical students, who are going to be coming on COVID duties, they also need to be vaccinated before they join the duty. Otherwise, it's going to be very unsafe for them to, join the COVID duty.
Yeah. Yes, he did speak about that as well. I think somebody wanted to, Dr. Bagai wanted to say something.
Very quickly, Niranjan. Two important points. I want Sunilji to completely believe me in what I'm saying, and I have scientific data to back it, that your vaccine will hold for a period beyond 4 months, even up to 6 months, and beyond 6 months. All along, in fact, most of the recent publications in the last 15 days have said that your T-cell immunity has never been spoken about. It's your unsung hero of your body immunity. Coming to the vaccine part, our only aim should be to vaccinate as many number of people the first shot. UK has proved it, Israel has proved it, Qatar has proved it with almost 98 to 99% effectiveness in preventing death, serious disease, and even hospitalization. Now, if there are some people who received the shot, I myself have received it at a 4-week gap. That was in the month of Jan-Feb. What has gone by. But since the target is moving, the data is still emerging, we got to recalibrate our approach, and there is nothing wrong in recalibrating our approach. I want the government to procure, I want a centralized agency from a vaccine point of view to fix the pricing. There should not be different states and private charging differently, and there should be a cap on the private players for administrative and local logistic costs. There has been enough information that the price is ranging from 900 up to 1500, maybe 1700. That will be a deterrent for a lot of people. Let it be transparent. If there is a X delta difference, let it be borne by the state. Our only aim now is get in whichever vaccine is first available into the Indian shores, vaccinate as many number of young people too. The incidence of COVID in the young has increased 100% as compared to last year because they carry the same viral load. They are as vulnerable because they are closed inside. Below the age of 18, 35% of Indian population. That's your largest chunk of Indian population. So it's a welcome move to immunize the pediatric and the younger age group and the pregnant women. There is enough data to show that the lactating women in fact protect the newborns by secondary IgA. So there is a lot of things which are coming on. Let's be patient because science is teaching us. We can't teach science.
Yeah, no, that's the point I was actually trying to make to Dr. Rawat. Dr. Rawat, I know everyone above the age of 18 is eligible for a vaccine. Now, he spoke about changing policy perhaps to ensure that you pay more attention to them. Now, I don't know how flexible a situation this is, or whether it can, there is a uniform policy that can be brought in. Sunil Alagh is raising his hand. Dr. Joshi wanted to come in. Dr. Joshi, can I come to you first, and I'll go across to Sunil Alagh. Dr. Joshi, now is it possible? Now, one example is what Sunil mentioned, that in Maharashtra and Mumbai, let's take Mumbai alone. The policies are flexible. For example, the second dose, they can just walk in. You've just changed the policy for those who've got their first dose, haven't got their second dose. 3 days you've dedicated to them. So, like that, is it now that's a case study, but is it possible across India?
No, I don't think so. I think it has to be done individually. What was happening is a lot of our senior citizens were not able to handle the app at all. And what was happening is all the slots were conquered between 18 to 45. And we had to ensure that we had to complete the vaccination process. So let us separate science and logistics. Logistics is left to the local administration. And the coordination between the stakeholders of center and state, which is according to me happening quite smoothly right now. Number one. Number two, let us look at the science. What Dr. Bagai says, I am not saying on the theory of it may be correct, but I am not so sure based on robust evidence on science of high quality on randomized control trial. There I would beg to differ with him. Yes, single dose is better. You will have some immunity, but whatever science talks, let science do the job as far as science is concerned. Science on Covishield is that 12 weeks you can extend. Beyond 12 weeks, I don't have data, and I don't agree. For natural infection, it's a different story altogether. Natural infection immunity is totally different. But I think we need to understand why government is taking some changing stance, and I agree with them. They are trying to see how to maximize protection in the given situation. And in the given situation, there is a fix. So what they are trying to do is they are trying to operate on that and ensure that maximum people are protected at the peak of the second surge. UK also took that decision only because they were at the peak of the second surge. If there was no peak of the second surge, they may not have taken the decision. So I welcome the decision taken by Government of India. My only objection was that 12 to 16 weeks, if they can make what was the science behind that in public domain, that is something because we are in an era of transparency. If they have seen data between 12 to 16 weeks for Covishield, that they have seen that it does have an impact on immunogenicity. That is something which is welcome. Beyond that, I think whatever they are doing is perfectly correct.
Yeah, Sunil, coming to the point of this vaccine crunch, I had this data. I'm just tossing it to you. I had this data that came in, and I'll just put it up on the screen as well. The government put up this data. I'm just going to show it to you. I'm just going to read out from it, and then we'll play the graphic as well. Now, the point is, and I'll read out from this. It says Covishield 75 crore doses, Covaxin 55 crore doses, BioE 30 crore doses, Zydus Cadila 5 crore doses, SII Novavax 20 crore doses, BB nasal vaccine, that is the Bharat Biotech nasal vaccine 10 crore doses, Genova mRNA vaccine 6 crore doses, Sputnik vaccine 15.6 crore doses. Total we will have about 216 crore doses, over 2 billion doses, right? Now the question is, and topmost medical experts feel that if the center really jumps into this, and if there is a centralized approach, which was in the first place what the center intended to do, on the global tendering process. Now, do you think first of all, the states will also have to be questioned, because first they said give us the autonomy, and now they're saying that the center must make a unified appeal, right? So it's a complete khichdi sort of a situation, but let's not get into that. I'm saying if the center gets into it, how soon do you think we can, get these vaccines imported?
Look, Dr. Bagai has said what we cannot disagree with. Everybody has to be vaccinated. Everybody is vaccine truisms, which nobody can argue about. What is the situation today? That is what, by December, everybody will be vaccinated. That's fair enough. What is the situation for the next 1.5 months now? What do we do? And therefore, the center is saying and anyone who wants to be part of the center, they've said it's free. For anyone who goes to a government hospital, you don't have to pay. Private hospitals can charge whatever they want, and so, whatever Covishield or Covaxin has been given to private hospitals, they are free to do it. So you want it free, you go to a government hospital. You don't want it free, you go to a private hospital. But to control private hospitals today, if you say, look, Breach Candy, you must charge 1,000 rupees. Taj Hotel, you cannot charge more than 200 rupees per dish. That is never going to work in a democracy, sir. So ultimately, at the end of the day, those who can afford private hospitals will go to private hospitals. Those who want it free will go to government hospitals. Government is running a dual scheme right now. Those who can afford, please go to private, or those who can't afford, please come to us. Now the question will be, what the center is doing is an amazing job. I'm with the Prime Minister on this. They're ordering. Now, would you follow the legal system and the economic system? Yes. If you have one center doing it and ordering, of course you will be able to get economies of scale. But at the end of the day, if a particular state minister, like in Mumbai, wants to do it on his own, he should be permitted, and the center has permitted him to do it. Why are we criticizing him? If he's not able to get it, bad luck. He wants it in 3 days because Mumbai has become a hotspot. And he wants to get people back on their feet. He wants the economy to start rolling in June. He thinks it's the best. Who is the center to tell him, no, you can't order? You wait till I order. The trust deficit has arrived, sir, and that you have to understand. Nobody is questioning what is ideal. I'm not questioning what is ideal either. Ideal is to have one common price. Ideal is to let the center order. Ideal is that they must distribute it. That's the way it should go. And that's what the Prime Minister is trying to do. But if you don't have faith in him, he said, all right, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and order on yourself and see what you do. Then you can't blame me for whatever price you have to pay. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm in support of what the center is doing. I'm also in support of allowing each state. Don't think 29 states are going to order. Huh? Forget it. 1 or 2 states or 3 states who have the money may order whatever there is. We are running a democracy. We're running a federal system. You cannot control from the center. And the sooner we understand it, the blame game will stop. Everybody will get together, whether it's the medical staff, whether it's the central government, whether it's the people. If you go around Mumbai today, 90% are wearing masks. Earlier, 50% was. The whole attitude has changed. Humko nahi hoga to humko hoga. That's the attitude, and that is why the demand has gone up. Now the Chief Minister is trying to deal with whatever the center has ordered, and he's ordering himself. Why are you stopping him? That's my only point, sir. Whatever you are saying, I agree with. That's the ideal system. By December, homeopathic dose. आप अंत में ठीक हो जाओगे. अंत में भैया हम रहेंगे कि नहीं रहेंगे? That is the question which most people on the road are asking.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, Dr. Rawat was raising his hand, Dr. Sunil also raising his hand, Dr. Bagai also wants to come in. Okay, let me get in Dr. Rawat first, short response. You know, Dr. Rawat, you said you spoke to Dr. Shetty. You know, one of the takeaways from the medical sector, medical experts, you know, those who run, you know, top doctors who run hospitals, they'll tell you that, and it's not one or two, but most of them feel that if they're given the, you know, the opportunity and the resources, they say that, you know, if private hospitals are empowered, they say we can vaccinate everybody, both in rural and urban India. We can vaccinate everyone round the clock, 24 hours in a 1 month period. They say it's possible.
I think, Niranjan, the problem is we need to understand which vaccine we can use more in India, because we don't have a cold chain system. If you look at Pfizer need to be stored at -20 degree. Moderna needs to be stored at -70 degree. So, you know, we don't have a cold chain. So, you know, in Bombay, it will be okay. But if you start transferring these vaccines to the smaller city, you know, it won't work. That is the reason why Covishield and Covaxin and Sputnik, because all three can be stored in the refrigerator. And that is the reason, you know, we already had a phase 3 trial of Zydex Cadila, and there is Panacea Biotech which is coming, and there is a nasal vaccine which is coming of Bharat Biotech. And in the New York City, they have started using the nasal spray of Johnson & Johnson. And they are giving incentive as well. They are giving a 5-day card on the metro free. So, and they are also giving free ice cream. And once the nasal spray comes in, it will be so easily go around in India, and we can vaccinate everyone.
Yeah. Yeah,
so thing is, you know, we have to look at the wastage as well. When the vaccine came in January, you know, my own colleagues, my own doctors, you know, they didn't come up for vaccination. There was a wastage of 10 to 15%. And if we start importing Moderna, we will have a wastage of 30-40%, because we won't be able to maintain the cold chain of -70 degree.
Now, yeah, thank you for saying that. And you know, all the incentives that you spoke of, can you imagine if there was an average of 10 to 12%, you know, wastage, Dr. Joshi, 10 to 12, you know, Dr. Bagai also can come in, and then, you know, look at the irony. Look at the irony. The reason I'm making this point is that we say that we've vaccinated 18 crore people. Let's take average 10% has been wasted, right? That would still mean 1.8 or 2 crore doses, right? See what's happening in, I'll give you two states, example of two states. Karnataka and Maharashtra recording the most number of cases in India, recording the most number of young Indians between the ages of 18 and 45 getting COVID. Many of them have lost lives, right? The irony is that both these states recording the most number of COVID-19 cases, Dr. Joshi, have suspended vaccination drive for 18 to 44. Look at the irony of the times that we live in. 18 to 44, two states recording the most number of cases have stopped vaccination for that age group. There are no vaccine. So my question is it time for a better plan? Or take the plan and, you know, to change it according to the local needs, maybe. I don't know.
Niranjan, let me rebut that very clearly. Number one is that it is a transient suspension because we don't have the stocks. And lot of people of Covaxin were going beyond 6 weeks. Lot of people of Covishield were going beyond 12 weeks for their vaccination. And that is why the suspension has been done for ensuring that the second shots are given. So that is the first thing. And number two, we want to restart the 18 to 45 as soon as we have stocks. We currently don't have the stocks. That is a fact of life. So when we don't have the stocks, we have to ensure that we get the supply chain in order. So there is some scientific rationale, it is not done arbitrarily.
No,
we want to vaccinate and we want to vaccinate everybody. But we have to also triage it in a particular way. I still feel the government of India, when they started the program, from above 65, then 45 to 65 with comorbidities, had a lot of scientific rationale and logic. Obviously, the less exposed population is the one which hit this wave, which is why vaccine for all was recommended, and Maharashtra was a part of that. Now what has happened is, if there are supplies, we will vaccinate. But if there are no supplies, from where will we vaccinate? So therefore, the suspension is only temporary and transient. And I'm certain it's a matter of a couple of weeks. If you ask me, it's a tough May. But by June, I'm sure Dr. Sunil Kumar will tell us that by June, July, this problem will be over. And we will be going full speed with our vaccination in an exponential way. And we'll cover it up for that.
Yeah, you're right. And that was my point. It was more a national question than a state-specific question. Dr. Sunil Kumar, look at the situation that we're in. States are elbowing it out in the global market. Maharashtra versus Karnataka versus Chhattisgarh versus Delhi. And I don't know. I mean, everyone's probably writing to the same global vendors for vaccines, and everyone is asking for similar doses, right? That's the irony. Basically, states elbowing it out in the global market instead of collectively acquiring vaccines as a nation, right? And states are also to blame because, they also wanted their autonomy. Now they're saying it's not possible, it's difficult. But I'm saying, when you have chief ministers in Delhi, Kejriwal pointing out, for example, how approaching manufacturers as India rather than individual states, our bargaining power can be much more. So do you think now that states are coming back and saying center should take the lead, is that a possibility? Sunil Kumar, Dr. Kumar.
Niranjan, can I come in?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So there is always a possibility. I think we have to keep our mind very open. In a lot of things maybe tried. There is no one fixed formula. All that we should remember is that it's one nation and one medical emergency, which is a national medical emergency. And we should be trying very hard for one type of medical response. And there is some tweaking which is allowed as far as the states are concerned. But as far as the elbowing is concerned, as far as the competition is concerned, as far as disregard for others are concerned, I think there is no role in today's time. No matter what is the kind of pressures we have, no matter what kind of deficiencies we may suspect, no matter what trust deficit we may think of, although these are the kind of things which should be avoided as far as possible, because they tend to add nothing but panic. Instead of that, we should be nowadays, today, everything is the decisions are being taken scientifically, the calculations and the doses and the procurements, everything is done on the basis of the facts before us and the number of people to be vaccinated. There is nothing is hidden, absolutely nothing is hidden. We are talking again and again, where is the evidence? Why we did not start in the beginning as the same strategy of 12 to 16 weeks? Well, you see, this science is emerging. Science always, we have to look at the science. What was true yesterday may not be true today. And what is true today may not be true tomorrow. So we have to keep emerging. We can't say that why we took a decision, that kind of decision yesterday. The things are always better in the hindsight. So I think we must remember that one nation, one medical emergency, one response. There is one should not be having any fierce competition.
No, but there is certainly.
Let the whole thing be.
No, but Kumar, I think, yes. Dr. Kumar, even you will agree that there is such a mismatch between demand and supply. Obviously, the calculation has gone wrong somewhere, right? Someone hasn't perhaps done their math when they took the decision, right?
You see, that's why we started the strategy only for the 60 and above.
Yes.
And then we started 40. We opened up the things as we realized that how tight the things are and how the things are opening and how the public is suffering. So the correct decisions were taken according to we were not sleeping. The government was not found sleeping. You can easily see as the things moved up, the vaccination was opened up.
Yeah. Certainly, nobody's saying, because, you see, the intent was there when you're vaccinating all. I'm only asking about the implementation, not the intent. Intent was right. I'm asking about the implementation. Last word to Dr. Bagai. I have 30 seconds, Dr. Bagai.
Okay. Thank you, Niranjan. if we are going to be batting in different directions, I think one player will be running out, another we will not win this match. I don't want anyone to feel that there is any trust deficit. If there is a trust deficit, I think each one can reach out to the authorities to get adequate information. I'm not batting for anyone, but I'm batting for India. Point number 2, with regards to what Shashank Joshi, I have a lot of love and respect for him. This data is there, I can share it with him. There is enough information in public domain which actually backs the stand of 4 months to 6 months and beyond. I also want to say, 1 minute, Sunil. I also want to state that if you go through the AstraZeneca clinical trials, they were also not foolproof. If you go through very critically and analyze, they made a mess of it, not once, but many times over.
Okay.
So I don't want anyone to be hinging their opinion on one clinical trial and nothing beyond that.
Okay.
Science is going to be developing. It will continue to emerge. We have to run with the science.
Sunil Alagh, 10 seconds, and then I'll wrap this up.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, sir, that look, we are all for India. When I'm raising questions, it is how to do it forward now. We cannot play the blame game of saying, why don't you do? Why are you not communicating in one shot? Why are you not telling the people that we have so much, you have to wait, you have to, why is everybody getting all the communication in 1 week, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks? That's where the trust fails.
Okay.
Look, if all the communication is made in the beginning, that's all that we need.
Yeah.
The center is doing its effort.
See,
the states are
one
doing
example,
their effort, everybody's doing
Sunil,
their
I'll end with this. The one example that I told you, a lot of people were asking these questions and floating the theory that, okay, there are no vaccines, so that's why they've pushed it to 12 weeks. You know, that's fake news and misinformation, right? No, that's what I'm saying. There is data, and I just read out that data that Lancet itself had said in February about the efficacy, right? So I think somewhere the publicity and the information dissemination is also something that needs to be paid attention to. On that note, I'm ending this debate. Dr. Kumar, Dr. Joshi, Sunil Alagh, Dr. Bagai, Dr. Rajvanshi, Dr. Rawat, thank you for your time. Thank you.